Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Frankie W and welcome back to my life. For today's video, we're going to do a summer reading wrap up. Summer has officially ended. It's September now, and I wanted to talk about all the books I read this summer. I'm still a little slow when it comes to reading, just in general. I think this has been, like, July last year is when it picked up for me, and I read like 11 books in the month. And this summer I read about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're still a ways away from my reading goal, but I think one, I read a lot more on planes, which is so silly, and also two, I just think I have to spend more time deciding what I'm gonna read, and it's just been a lot of like work that's kind of stopped me, but I've been reading really good things. First and foremost, let's talk about My Hero Academia Volume 13. So I talk about My Hero Academia at least once in every reading wrap-up, I fear, at this point. It's about Izuku Midoriya, who is someone who's quirkless in a world where everyone has quirks, and that just basically means that he was born without a superpower, which was extremely rare. Everyone in this society has powers. He gains a power, and he decides to go to his UA, which is a hero academia, a hero school, to learn how to be a superhero. And this one focuses on the second half of the training exercise for their licensing exam, and as well as a little bit of an introduction to a couple more heroes. This is where we meet Gang Orca, and he's like one of their test facilitators. And there's a bit more information on League of Villains, like on the back is Bubby Gara Jin, and so we do learn more about Jin himself being twice and in the whole League of Villains of everything. This is the last volume before we get into the Hisaki arc, which is volume 14, where we meet Overhaul and we're about to meet Eri, and all of the students do, well, not all of the students, Kirishima, Uraka, Asui or Su, and Suyu and Izuku, they do work studies, and at those work studies they get to shadow superheroes and learn from them. But I always talk about this book series. I feel like I can't always talk about what happens in them because it's a continuation, so if you haven't read 1 through 12, you don't really know what's happening in 13. But I always really like these. I think I was less into, I don't know if I was listening to this one or listening to the last one. The licensing exam of all the arcs is probably one of the ones I'm less interested in. That, and then I need to put more respect on his name, but the first time I watched the show, I was not interested in Gentle Criminal, and I feel like I have more respect for him with the last season we had, but like still. Anyway, that is the first thing I read. So next we have Heartless, which is Pretty Little Liars book number 7 by Sarah Shepard. This has been on my reading list since last year. This is a book that I really was trying to get done. This is second to last in the first 8 books of Pretty Little Liars. So the first 4 books are a group. Technically, the next 4 books could also be counted in that group, like they're in the same age range, but there's an A for the first 4 books, and then there's an A for the next 4 books. There are technically 8 more books. Then there's a novella for Allie's Pretty Little Liars, and there's also a Christmas special, so there's like 10 more books. And I'm trying to read all of them so I can do a specific video dedicated to reading Pretty Little Liars. If you don't know what Pretty Little Liars is, it's about these 4 girls in a friend group who kind of drifted apart after their one friend, Alison De Laurentiis, goes missing. And at first they think that she goes missing and she was kidnapped, and then a body was found, so it turns out that she died. And then it's like unraveling what happened to her and like what happened to her that night and what caused her to flee, or why she disappeared, or why she died, and those types of things. So really good book. I think that and the next book I read, which is Wanted, PLL book number 8. This one was good because it gave the twist reveal that I've been waiting for, and I will say I'm not going to spoil it because people who watched the show were spoiling it back in the day on Twitter, so I've known for a really long time. But I think this one kind of gives I thought we'd have to wait for till the 8th book to find out, but they give the answer in this one, kind of being like, oh, then there is another character that you have to be introduced to, right? But then in eight, all of the tea was being spilled. I made this probably one of my favorite books of the month. This was an insane read. Like, I understand that these were like books for kids and stuff, and I should have been reading them in like, I don't know, middle school when they came out, but reading them as an adult is just so crazy because I'm like, all of this stuff happened. And it's so much. It's anyway, really like this book series. I'm still continuing. I actually ordered the next 4 books, which the next video is gonna be a book haul. I ordered the next 4 books to continue, and I also have book 8.5, or yeah, Ali's Pretty Little Liars, which you're supposed to read after book 8, not first. It's a 0, I think, when people list Sarah Shepard's book, they're like, it's book 0. But if you read that first, you kind of get the entire plot twist spoiled for you. So I would read that after this one. Mamotte Lollipop. Mamotte Lollipop is an anime, probably the first anime I was ever introduced. Well, there's 2. There's 2 animes I was introduced to when I was really, really young, and it was this one, and then a really super horny one called Rosario Vampire, and I was too young to be on the internet like that, man. That's my own fault. But anyway, this is volume 1 of Mamotte Lollipop. It's about this girl, Nina, who accidentally, somehow, swallows a magical pearl, which is the testing, which is used in a test for magical people that, like, their whole goal is to capture it on a scavenger hunt, and, like, I don't know, then they become fully licensed wizards, and the exam happens like once a year. And the pearl fell from the sky into Nina's dessert, and she tried to bite it, and it hurt, and she wasn't gonna swallow it, she was about to spit it out, and then a bunch of magical people like crash land, scare her, force her to swallow it, and now she has a magical pearl in her stomach. And people are trying to like dissect her. Not actually. It's still a kid's manga. Or not kids. It's still PG-13. So they're not actually going to dissect her, but that was a whole plot line where people were like, well, just cut her open. Cut her open and get it out. And I was like, oh, Nina. Anyway, this is a blast from the past. When you go to manga stores, you see like My Hero Academia, you see Jujutsu Kaisen. So I've never actually seen these in Barnes & Noble or anything like that. So Sierra ordered me the first 3 online through Amazon, I think, for my birthday. So this is first of the 3 I own. And I want to get, I think there's only 10 volumes of it, but I would like to collect all of them. So that's Mamotte Lollipop, which actually I think translates to Save Me Lollipop. Or that's just what they call it in English for the show. I don't know, man. The next book I want to talk about is Sunny Disposition by Dina Gray. This is a self-published book, so independently published. I knew about it because I've seen this cover on Pinterest, and honestly, it's yellow and green, black girl. I was gonna buy this book whether I liked it or not. So it's been on my Pinterest for literally like, I think a year. So I was really excited to read it. It's about these 2 characters, Naomi and Finn. And on the surface, it's pretty like, oh, she's a gamer, he's a hockey player, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like more interesting than that because he is a moderator on her live stream. And then they end up living together because her best friend's parents are renting out their place in their college town, and it's him and his 3 other teammates, and so it's this whole thing. I really liked it. It was really cute and sweet. I gave it a 3.75, and that's like not on me. 3 and above is good. I gave it a 3.75 and not a 4-star because there was like a couple moments where I don't know. I can tell this is like a first release, if that makes sense. It might not be. I don't really know that much about the author, so please take my words with a grain of salt. I just know that I rated this at 3.75. I didn't really love it as much as I thought I was going to, but I still really liked it. Then I watched this YouTube video where there was this girl talking about this book. And I didn't think anyone knew about this book. She was talking about this book and then the book that got released right after. And she gave this a 3.75, just like me. And then she gave the next one a 4-star and said it was so much better. It's more interesting, more intimate. The characters, because in this one, these two are like kind of acquaintances that know each other. Then something happens, which actually I would love to go into more detail about this like through line that's happening that I feel like we aren't talking about enough. Like, I feel like it's a spoiler low key, but it's like Finn has some fucked up shit going on, and I fear we are not paying enough attention to that because it's like supposed to be a romance. And I'm like, damn, you gave him a lot of trauma. You gave both of them a lot of trauma for this book to be so short. Like, I get it. People are like, well, it's a romance, wrap it up quick. These are fucked up individuals, and I would like to know if they're fully healed before they get into a relationship, personally. But anyway, the next book is about the female hockey team's captain, who a couple times we see her in this book painting Naomi's face or at parties talking to Naomi or whatever, and then it's one of the other roommates, like one of Finn's friends, and I'm really excited to read that. I bought that book. That'll also be in the haul video that's coming up. I bought that, and I was really excited, so... That's Sunny Disposition. I didn't give you too much of a plot because I fear like when people talk about it, you think it's just a hockey romance. And the reason they're doing that is because like the shit that they have going on is so like out of left field that if I just was like, oh, it's a girl with trauma because X, Y, and Z, you'd be like, why the fuck? Anyway, it's not bad. I really liked it. I did. I really wanted to know more about both of them. But I will say the next book in comparison is a lot longer, so who knows? Or if it's not longer, it just looks longer. But like, look, this is the first one's on top. Like, that's a big difference in page number. Also, look at the cover. They're so cute. This also first cover, low-key, mine is a misprint. I think that's just how they were all printed because there's like a little bit of the yellow peeking over. I don't really care that much. But look at them. They look so cute together. Also, this is like a... What kind of texture is this? These are different textures, but... Yeah. So cute. And the last book I want to talk about in this video is Assistant to the Villain. Has it always been read like that? Have I never noticed that before? I don't know if that's supposed to look like that. Anyway, this is Assistant to the Villain. I actually have a reading blog for this book specifically where I give a lot of my thoughts and opinions on it because I'll tell you, I was intrigued by this book from the beginning. I like that it's more of a cozy fantasy in a way where it's like, first reading Assistant to the Villain, I thought it was going to be kind of like a Megamind type thing, but the fact that it's actually a high fantasy realm with like fairies and talking frogs and cyclopses and shit, like that is the type of thing I'm really interested in. I think that this is a really amazing debut novel by this author. I was so immersed in the world and I really needed to know what happened next. She did a really good job of leaving it on a cliffhanger, made me buy the second one, and she just released a third one. So we'll see if I'm strapped in the whole time. Like, I remember when Soman Chainani, the author of The School for Good and Evil, he kept edging people with these cliffhanger endings, and I was like, man, like I'm about to stop reading these if you don't give me the conclusion. So that's how I kind of felt reading this, where I was like, damn, I really need to know what happens next, but if she doesn't give me what I want in the next one, like there better only be 3 of these books, man. Like if they're like, oh, book 4 and 5 coming out next year, I'm gonna be so like, I'm not at all against series, but I feel like every book recently that I've been seeing getting published is a book that starts a series. Like everyone wants to write books that are like these big like interconnected standalones. Like you can't just write one book, you have to write like 5. And I would love to just go back to having books that stood alone. And so that's just a me thing personally. I really like this book. It had sprayed edges that were red. I don't know. Evie is such a strong female character, and she goes through so much in this book. And again, the plot twist is plot twisting, and usually I don't like to say that. I don't like to like be like, "Oh, it's a plot twist. It's a plot twist." You read this book and you genuinely like beside like there are red herrings and whatever. The whole point of this book is that Evie works for the villain, and basically someone is trying to thwart his empire, someone's trying to betray him, someone is trying to take him down for the king. And the whole time, like, you get pointed in different directions, being like, oh, it's this person, oh, it's this person. I, in a million years, could not have predicted how this book ended. And I'm not kidding. I wasn't doing like I was doing a reading vlog, sure, but I like was like taking my time reading this book in the hotel. I sat up in all from the couch. I sat up to finish this book because it was like boom, and I was like, what? What did they just say? And then boom, what? And then boom, what? Like it was like my brain could not comprehend what was happening in this book after a certain moment because I was like, oh, oh, so this person's a piece of shit, like, you know what I mean? So, and I'm being very, very like this person, they, I don't want to give away the gender of the person that is like the actual bad guy in this because I would love for people to experience what I experienced reading this book. I was genuinely like shocked. Shocked. And so I also, as I said, I bought the second one for this book as well. These books are very tall. I think these are like the sizes of hardcovers. But yeah, Apprentice to the Villain, that's the next one. Very cute, very cute. I love this. Because at first when I read the title, I was like, how does that even, how are these gonna be important to each other? Girl, you cannot just read one book. You need the second one. So I will be reading this soon. And it's so funny because I feel like I go on these moments where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna keep reading and I'm not gonna buy any more books. And then I read a good book and I'm like, fuck, I need the next one. You know what I mean? Anyway, those are all the books I read this summer. So that's 6 books that I read. 4 of them being fiction and 2 of them being manga. And then, yeah, fiction, I would say like YA, romance, fantasy is the breakdown. YA with Pretty Little Liars, romance with Sunny Disposition, and then fantasy for Assistant to the Villain. There is a romance in it, so I guess it's a romantasy? I don't know. And then, yeah, my 2 mangas. But those are the 6 things that I read over the summer. I did make a summer TBR video where I kind of talked about the books that I wanted to read this summer. And I can say I didn't read a lot this summer. I actually read no books in June. Most of these were read in July. And then one, I think all of these, except for Assistant to the Villain, was finished in July. And then I read most of Assistant to the Villain in August. So there were a lot more books on this summer TBR that I have yet to read. But honestly, a lot of these are still, like I said in the summer TBR video, a lot of them are fall themed for the very point that I can read them for the Halloween time. So I'm not really in a rush or anything, but yeah, very excited to keep reading. I'm having such a good time. As I said, I'm at, did I say 15? I think I'm at 16 actually. Yeah. So I've read 16 books this year. My goal is 25. I think next year I'm gonna make like a much bigger goal, but I feel like with a bigger goal means really setting time for intentional reading. And I feel like I am intentionally reading in a way, but also like I'm not gonna force myself to read. I read more than the average person. Like none of my friends are reading. Like I think my friends have read one book this year. So I am doing better than the average person, but I still like I feel like I have such high expectations for myself, so it kind of is so strange. But and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.